We will. Welcome to the Tourism Advisory Council meeting. If you'll join me in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. Thank you for coming tonight, for being here. Megan, you want to do a roll call for us?
Sarah Menard?
I'm here.
Dina?
Yes.
Jan? Donna?
Here.
Kelly?
Here.
Andy?
Here.
Laura?
Here.
Jack? And Tom? And Susan?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay.
We're good.
All right.
That's my question.
Yeah, I thought we were still counting.
They'll be able to read my lips.
And we have an audience member here, Robbie. Hi, glad you're here. And I think everybody should have a copy of an agenda in front of you and a whole bunch of other paperwork, but for right now, I would entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
I make a motion to
Wait a
approve the
second.
agenda.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And our last meeting was July, is that correct, July 16th? Yes. And you have those minutes before you, and I don't know, did we go up those electronically prior to this meeting? I don't recall.
You did? Yes.
Okay. Oh, I do recall reading these, and I don't recall seeing anything that was a glaring error or omission. Let me ask, has everyone had a chance to review these minutes, or do you need some time? We're good?
Good.
Okay, I would entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes. Dina, thank you. Any seconds?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Additions or corrections? Discussion? Okay. Thank you very much for that. That's out of the way. Do we have any citizens to be heard? Do you have any info for us, or you're just wanting to join us? Okay. Stop writing. Do you have any info for us? We have lots of paperwork from you.
I do, as a matter of fact.
Good.
A couple of things I wanted to go over, and then I'll go over the paperwork for you. You've got some guest counts here for the months. You can see that September was 1647, which after August being strongly up, August was up 700 people over the previous year's August. September was down, and it was down almost 900 below the previous year's count.
What form are you looking at? The Welcome Center visitors.
This one?
I guess.
Oh, right behind it.
You've
Right
got
behind
one.
it.
Mine was sticking.
I was looking at yours on Lauren all the same thing.
I'm actually giving you my oral report before we go through those. But so I started out with the just the general trends. August was up, September was down, and I wanted to point out in terms of additional things that we've been doing differently at the Welcome Center. So effective October 1st, we started charging a 2% convenience fee on all credit card transactions. So all those tours, we've been sending them correspondence to let them know that they can pay by check, and if they choose to pay by credit card, they will start having a 2% convenience fee. And for the most part, that has gone over okay. There were a couple of tour guides who were a little disgruntled, but we informed them in writing and in email, and so most of them were okay with it, because this will offset those costs that, across the board, the city was, whether they took a credit card for a water payment or anything, we were paying fees to the credit card companies, and so this at least offsets those fees. And so we have a sign posted similar to this at the Welcome Center, and we've been sending this information out in all of our emails. So I just want to let you know that if you hear about, the city's now charging a 2% convenience fee, it was approved by the Board of Aldermen, and so we are also complying with that new direction at the Welcome Center. And really, the credit card processing swiper takes care of all of it. So once we figured that out, everybody was like, oh, we don't have to figure out what 2% is. It does it automatically and adds it into the total. So just want to let you know that change has taken place.
And I suspect that is becoming more and more common.
It is even in shops.
Yeah.
Well, and I know we're kind of like at a not-for-profit or municipal rate of 2%, but I think that quite a few shops charge even more than that, because you pay a higher rate in the private sector, so to speak. So wanted to let you know about that little policy change. Also, by way of exciting things at the Welcome Center, we have a new water fountain out front. So for those of you who walk the historic district or anything like that, even people pushing a stroller, there's now a new water fountain, and we were able to do that at the end of FY19, which ended September 30th, because we didn't have as many building repairs otherwise, and so we were able to get that in and installed before Jour de Fête. So there were a lot of happy people in Jour de Fête.
Good.
So, speaking of that, because this is a recent development, let me give you that. I've been attending and participating in the Jour de Fête reorganizational meetings. I know there are several people here who have also participated in that. And the great news is that they now have a new crafts chairperson for the 2020 Jour de Fête. And the current chairperson will also stay on board to train that new crafts chairperson, and I think very soon, now that was the big commitment, and now that commitment has been met, they will also be filling a board position for secretary and one for treasurer. And those are important positions as well, but certainly not with the large burden that the crafts chairperson has. So,
Can you tell us who's filling that position?
Victoria Heil. Yeah.
Oh, well, good. She'll be
So,
good at that.
yeah. And I believe her sister is going to be her lieutenant. So,
Yeah, good.
yeah. So that was exciting news. I also wanted to point out that in addition to the long-awaited Common Grounds opening, we have 2 other new businesses that have opened in the historic district. Les Arts on Merchant Street, and Lavender Moon on 3rd Street in the building that was previously occupied by Odil's Linen and Lace. So now we have Odil's, that shop filled. We have the corner filled with Common Grounds, and around the corner, every single little shop is open for business, including Les Arts. The Lavender Moon has more extensive office hours. She does essential oils and bath bombs and things like that. And then Les Arts is more collectibles, antiques, that kind of thing, and she's only open on the weekends right now. She'll probably expand that in the spring, but she wanted to get open for the Christmas season, so we're excited about those 2 new developments.
Yeah, and both of them are cool names.
They are.
Yeah.
So Common Ground, is it open?
Well, they're tomorrow.
Tomorrow,
Is their official.
okay, good.
Yeah, they've
Ribbon
had
cutting's
some.
Thursday at 4. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
What is Thursday?
Our ribbon cutting's at 4 o'clock on Thursday, but we open officially tomorrow at 6. And we'll be open Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 11 a.m.
I'm excited, it's just down the street.
Yes, come see us often.
And with coffee and more.
Yes, yep.
Dina told me today that you have chai.
We do.
Pretty excited
It's delicious
about that.
chai. And we partner with Caldi's, so we have Caldi's coffee.
Oh, that's good coffee.
Mhm.
That's good coffee.
Yeah, I was up there today picking up more coffee and lots of other things.
Good,
So,
good.
yeah. And we've got two 15-minute parking spots right out front, so if you need to run in and then dash out, hopefully those will be available.
Cool. That is cool.
Mhm.
You will hear later about the Christmas decor update. And in addition to those things, then I would like to address the stack of nicely colored reports that you have in front of you. So the one that looks like this. This is the, just a bar chart data about the, I think it's 6 years now, a 6-year pattern. These are the calendar years, 2014 through 2019. So you can see there are some pretty high spikes in there. The super high one in August of 2017 was the eclipse, so we've always kind of averaged that one out. And I have some information about average months also. Interestingly enough, even though our data point on September was 900 lower, it was only a little lower than our average for a September, because the average for a September was a little over 2,300. So we had a strong September last year. Anyway, so you can see that. I think this is very helpful, especially for when we meet with small businesses that are interested in opening. Their first question is, what are the busy months? And although we gear up in a big way for the holiday season, the Christmas season, and we certainly want to continue to build that, as you can see, the months of May, August, and October are traditionally our highest months. The tourist season, any place in Missouri, is really from Memorial Day to Labor Day. And then because we have the wineries here, I think with the fall comes the nicer weather. I think we enjoy a second shoulder season with that August, September, October. September's always a little bit tricky because the kids have just gone back to school. And people are cutting back, they're getting into their new routine with new activities and so on. And you can see in that pattern that it's always a little lower than the months before and after it.
And the weather is really iffy in September. It's likely to be really hot, really cold, or who knows? Yeah.
Wet.
Really wet.
And this year we had
Really hot.
blazing hotness. Yes, yes. So, there's that. And then you also have a couple of sheets there that show you the top markets. And so this is strictly off of the guest center, the Welcome Center guest sign-in sheets. And for the 25,000 some odd guests that come to the Welcome Center during the year, roughly a third to, so maybe between 30 and 40% will sign the sign-in sheet. And they'll tell us, I'm Laura, I'm from St. Genevieve, and I heard about you in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Sometimes they'll just tell us, I'm Laura from St. Genevieve, and that's all we get. But we try to derive data as much as we can from that. So in their responses for those guest sign-in record, the first one that you should have has Illinois, Arkansas, Tennessee, Florida, Texas, and Iowa down the right side. And you can see at least for January through September time period, the number one by far was Illinois. So you can imagine what it does to us when we're cut off from Illinois by the river. And so this really kind of brings that to light.
This is St. Genevieve Welcome Center, correct?
Correct.
Not the state of Missouri.
That is correct. This
Okay,
is our
okay.
welcome center, yeah. And just the people that come through the door that sign the guest record. I kind of think that you might be a little more likely to sign the guest sign-in sheet if you are from out of town, you know, because you're like, woo, I'm on vacation. And so, you know, we might have people in probably, especially for events and things like that, like when we participate in the Cookie Crumb Trail or, you know, whatever it might be, where we have a lot of people going in and out that do not sign because they're mostly local or maybe from St. Louis area. So you can see that Illinois is our #1 outstate market for that. And then the second one starts with St. Louis metro area with the largest piece of the pie, followed by less than 50 miles and more than 50 miles. So we track metro areas including St. Louis, Cape Girardeau, Kansas City, Columbia, and then if they fall in between any of those others, we track it as more or less than 50 miles because that is a statistic that we have to track for the state of Missouri, so it helps us.
Springfield would fall in the more than 50 miles?
I'm sorry, who would?
Springfield, Missouri?
Yes.
Because I get a lot of people that say Springfield.
Yes. So you can see that the Cape Jackson, Kansas City, and Columbia look like small slivers, but if you add those into the more than 50 miles, you know, it makes that more significant. Obviously, the bulk of our market comes from the St. Louis metro area. And again, this is from the Welcome Center guest sign-in data. And then we always ask them, how did you hear about us? Not everyone answers that question. Probably more than half don't answer that question. The #1 favorite answer is friends and family, and that's with travelers anywhere. And then you can see the data there, internet, website, other advertising, Facebook, and they've been here before. Some of them will say, we've been here before. It's been 30 years, but we came back, you know, which is, we love that. That's great. But, well, whatever it took to get them back, they got inspired and they came back. So I just think, you know, since September is the end of the fiscal year, that it's always nice to see this. And it's kind of also the end of the summer season, if you will. So,
You know, all of this is really interesting, and I guess it's really kind of stupid to guess, because guesses don't mean you're good. But personally, if I were to see it on Facebook, then I would do an internet search and look for a website. You know, I just don't always trust what I see on Facebook, so I look for something a little more reliable. I don't know if other people do that or not, but.
well, and so what you're saying is you would have fallen into both of those
Right,
categories.
yeah.
Facebook, and then you did your research.
And then I would, yeah. Yeah,
So-
it's kind of stupid to guess what
I
people
had
do,
some
but-
people come in today from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and they said they were just driving from Iowa into Missouri, and they Googled top small towns in Missouri, or best small towns to visit in Missouri. And the first thing that popped up was the 15 best small towns to visit in Missouri. And Parkville, which I've never even heard of, was #1, and then another town, and then St. Genevieve was 3.
Oh, good.
And
I've never heard of Parkville.
They then went to the website, so then they came and stayed at St. Gen. They're at Audubon's right now, so.
Nice. Yeah.
They said that was really neat. They just Googled top small towns to visit. I get a lot of people that say they found out about it on AAA, in the AAA magazine. Had a lot of people tell me about AAA, or RVing magazine. So.
They'll hang on to those articles for
Yes,
years.
the lady actually showed me her binder with the St. Genevieve article from the RVing magazine, and it was like 3 or 4 years old.
That's a serious RVer.
Oh, yeah.
It keeps a binder,
Yeah.
a locations binder.
She goes,
Yeah.
well, when I'm in the area, she like had it tabbed into states.
Yeah.
And so she flipped to Missouri, and she's like, we're coming through Missouri, and where do I want to go in Missouri? And she had saved the article about St. Genevieve, and that's why she came.
Yeah, I know there's a guest book in the back of church, and I think last week there were lots of Canadian entries in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, Candy, would you want to mention, speaking of RVing, what you're doing in your backyard these days?
I have joined an organization called harvesthosts.com, plural. And what it is it's a membership for the RV community. You spend $79 a year, I think it is, and you get access to like up to 1,400 different campsites across the country where you can dry camp free. So, and they want wineries, farms, distilleries, historic sites. You know, so I fell into that category because I've got almost an acre of ground that just sits there. And there's no campgrounds within, you know, it's 20 miles to Hawn, 20 miles to Perryville. So I signed up to be a harvest host. I was going to have a camper tonight, but then she wound up not being able to come. But all you have to do as a host is they have to carry their own liability insurance. You just provide them with a spot to camp, and you don't provide any amenities. You don't have to provide water, electric, or sewer. So, you know, and no tent camping is allowed with harvesthost.com. You can be a pop-up or, you know, up to a great big old bus-type RV, and they camp for free on your property. And one of the things they ask the people to do is to at least go in and you know, spend about $20, $25, $30 in your host's shop or winery or whatever you know you're providing. So I've had two couples so far. One I wasn't able to be there while they were there. They came late at night, left early in the morning. And then I had another really sweet couple that was there, and they thought it was wonderful that they got to camp right there, and then they could walk to the historic district. So.
Well, that's terrific, yeah.
It's neat. I've got brochures in my shop. There's another organization that's kind of the same thing called boondockers.org. Because, you know, it's dry camping again. So you're just providing people with a place to camp where there's not normally a campground.
So do the campers, do they have to belong to an organization?
Yes, they have to belong to Harvest Hosts, and they
Okay.
and they made me a
membership.
Yeah, it's a paid membership thing, and they made me a web page. And so people, if they're looking, they get this map of all of the harvest hosts. And so like I think the Barron's Winery in Perryville is another one. They're also a harvest host, and
We have been for several years. Twin Oaks is as well. And we get, over the summer,
Neat.
we get 2 or 3 a week.
Really?
And they are very good customers.
yeah,
Nice.
they're always very, very nice people. So, you know, until we get some sort of a campground, it's a neat way to get people to come into your shop or your winery or whatever, and then you're providing a service for them. They don't have to drive 20 miles every night and come back and, you know, visit the houses and then.
Yeah, I get some visitors in the shop that want to know where they can park their camper, or they can,
And that, you know,
Camp,
you can always send them to me too for the summertime. If they want to just come and park on my lot for the summer, my yard, it's flat over there on that one side. They can just pull in there, and then they can, a lot of people are towing a little car, then they could either drive their little car or walk, you know.
Which is another kind of ongoing discussion that we've had, and as everyone at the table is aware, we need more RV camping in general. Our closest large sites are Hawn State Park and Hidden Valley up at Double O. And in 2017, we did use the Moses Austin / Jurdafet campground for RV sites. It was all done online. They didn't have to do anything, and they being the Jurdafet, they picked up, you know, their spot assignment at the Welcome Center. Most RVs are self-contained, and they had electric because the Jurdafet has
Right.
electric for their vendors. We haven't done that since that year, but it's something that's always been there as a possibility, and I think maybe once they get through their reorganization, that the Jurdafet committee might be willing to pick that up again. I think they've really been, you know, so focused on how are we gonna transition, how are we gonna get new people in.
Right.
Once they settle in with that, I think that's an important conversation to pick up on. So if you have an opportunity to support that in your conversations out in the community, I think it would be really valuable.
I agree, yeah.
I do too.
So I just thought that was, and I didn't realize you did that too. That's good.
I didn't either. That's awesome.
Okay, and so we have recently participated in a couple of things that I just wanted to point out, and these are separate from the other bulleted items. One is the Missouri Life magazine hired a company or partnered with a company called Country Travel Discoveries, and I only made one copy of this, but I'll pass it around, and some of the people at the table are already aware of it because you were involved in one way or another in hosting this. But they did 2 large tours around the state of Missouri. They started in St. Louis, went to Herman, Rolla, Ironton, Van Buren, New Madrid, Sikeston, St. Genevieve, Farmington, and then back to St. Louis. And so I'm just going to pass this around, and you can see that this is the kind of thing that we want to do more of. The Bike Across Missouri is another one of those kinds of things on a much smaller scale. This was on a bus. The Bike Across Missouri will be next summer, and it will be going point to point on a bike, and the Missouri Life magazine provides all the logistical support. They do the showers and the porta potties and the picking up the camper's gear, moving it to the next place. Each community where they spend the night, they bring in live music, and the community can benefit by providing, the beer and food vendors and that kind of thing. So it's another traveling way to see the state of Missouri, and it's more of a slow travel emphasis. They like to see what's in the community. They like to really, get in there and feel like they've had a sense of the community, and that's going to be part of what the Bike Across Missouri is too.
Tell me again, when is that?
June 6th and 7th, I do believe, of next year. Yeah, it's the weekend before the French Heritage Festival, which is good. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out, that we have been participating in these kinds of things, in addition to all the other tours that we do. This one was a little bit different because their theme is to really feature Missouri's best locations to see. So, and they were just here about a week ago. So, okay, and then I also wanted to bring these 2 things because the next 3 things I'm going to talk about are our annual things that we do. So probably everyone at the table is familiar with this magazine. It's the State of Missouri's Vacation Guide. Has everything, every state park in here. It has every community. All of our small businesses can go in, if they're tourism related, they can go in and update their own listing in here. We help quite a few small businesses update their listing if they're not familiar with how to do it. And we have paid for a little, like last year they let us do a little mini coupon, which was sort of like a photo enhanced coupon. And we were able to do a directory listing, like here's a normal directory page, and you can see the columns there, and each entry in the column is, for instance, St. James Farmers Market, St. James, Missouri, Cave Vineyard and Winery, St. Genevieve, Missouri. And then when we did French Colonial St. Genevieve, we paid a little extra to highlight that, so it's called a highlight listing. We did this in the 2019, and next year we're going to combine those 2. There's going to be a picture above our listing, and it will be called a photo enhanced listing. So I only brought one of these, but I marked the pages if you want to look at that one.
Yeah, I've seen that one. That's good.
And then
That's good.
this is, you always hear me talk about the spring and fall insert. So this is coordinated by the Missouri Division of Tourism. This is I'll pass that one. This is an insert that goes into every major newspaper in the Midwest. So literally hundreds of thousands of newspapers, and then it's available online digitally. And so we participate in this through our co-op grant program. So we only have to pay 50% of the total actual price of this, and it's one of the top lead generators for St. Genevieve tourism. So we get several thousand live leads from this, where people will look at it and they're, trying to decide what they want additional information on, and they can go online, or they can fill out a little card that says, want information number 135 or whatever. And so every week we get that information, and we send out the St. Genevieve postcard that has kind of the highlights, and also it directs them to the Visit St. Gen website. So this one just went out. This is the fall, vacation fall, winter 2019. Of course, it has Branson on the front. But we got when you open it, we're at the first page on the upper right-hand.
What I think is
spot.
interesting, immediately below St. Genevieve is Farmington.
Yes.
And Farmington says it is surrounded by blah, 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 15 vineyards. Well, those are our vineyards too.
Doggone their hides.
Well, it's true. They, so they have lots more overnight lodging than we do, and we can't possibly house all the people going to all those vineyards, so.
Well, if they all let all the RVs stay at all of the vineyards, then there we go.
Yeah. So, anyway, I'm pretty excited about the placement.
That is nice, yeah.
I think.
Above the fold.
Yeah, above the fold. And definitely it tells you just at a glance with the new photo that we're using, that it is French colonial and it's historic architecture and so on. Here's this one if you want to pass that down. Anyway, just wanted you to be aware that that's out there. It's on the streets right now, and we are, the Tourism Tax Commission approved additional postcard printing and additional postage for the postcards, so that we can respond to all those leads. So, and then some of them obviously are asking for emails, so it's not all by postage, but the vast majority is postage. So that's the fall insert. It's out there right now. And I think that's my update. I have some other things that I'll chime in on, but that's the update.
Okay, thank you for that. Anybody have any questions or comments for Sandra? Okay, thank you for that work that you do. Under old business, we have a national park update, and I think it's moving along, right? Is that what we can say?
It is. Donna, did you want to say something about that?
The state continues to partner with the National Park at the Amarillo House. It gets a little dicey once in a while, trying to make sure that if they're there, we're there, they're not, that kind of thing. So we're working out schedules. The last day will be November 9th, and I got the most updated schedule today. So getting it worked out. I think by spring, it will open the same way. It will depend on if they have other properties by then.
So you'll close the house for the season after November?
Amarillo is always closed because the pipes are right there. And so we drain it so that they don't freeze. Plus, there's no heat in the house. So they've decided to do the same thing we do during that off-season. They'll close it.
So there are a couple of tours that are scheduled after that, but then Donna honors those tours.
I do. Yeah. That way they don't have to come back down here for just an hour. They just do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I know that Mike Ward, who is the superintendent of the parks, has been in town several times. He's, was he here today? He's interested in talking to people, just talking. He just wants to get to know what's happening. And he did say he told me they were in the process of interviewing for a superintendent, so.
I think they've got it down to 2 candidates at this
Okay.
point, yeah.
Okay, well, we will be excited when it finally is established. And same with the museum. I can tell you, I'm on the museum board, and I can tell you that And for a while, it appeared that we were sort of stagnant, and things are moving now pretty rapidly. I don't know if any of you have seen any, there are some photos floating around at least of some birds, for want of a better word, they're not really birds, dinosaur birds that have been moved into the museum, and they are suspended from the ceiling. They are pretty spectacular. And we have hired a manager, is not really the term, except that at this point that's what he is doing, is managing every single thing. And stuff is moving pretty rapidly. So, you know, we're looking at still several months out, because the displays have to be custom made now that the building is complete, stuff like that. But it's back on track and moving much more rapidly than it was before. So that is good news.
And you've hosted a couple of small, like, sneak preview.
Right. Well, there's one tonight, as a matter of fact. I think the whole Rotary Club is over there. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's good news on the museum.
And the former museum building, the Art Guild, as you know, has been working with the county to make that into a new attraction for us too. So they've never really had their own home before. And during the plein air, they had a number of activities in there. And I know recently they've been doing something with the tile work, where they took out the old museum cases around the outside edge, and they had to backfill that tile. So the Art Guild collectively are really excited about that space, and they're going to be doing classes and having exhibits and art activities in there.
Right. And I can't speak for the Art Guild, except that it is my understanding that they plan to uncover some of the windows, and that will make the building look much more attractive from the outside. They plan to, and because they want to let natural light in too.
We've gotten so used to those painted up
Uh-huh.
windows.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so and there were showcases.
On
The museum
inside,
cases
yeah.
were on the inside, so the cases are gone, and they're going to uncover some of the windows, and that'll make the building much more attractive from the outside. Yeah,
That will be a major transformation.
yeah. And they are excited about it, you're right about that. Yeah.
It's good.
And I haven't been to any Christmas decor meetings, but they've been happening, right?
Yes, we have
Yes.
members of the actually Kelly's probably the closest thing to a head of that subcommittee.
Okay, great.
The city has purchased 24-inch wreaths and some holly and some bows, so we are going to put all that together for all the lampposts in town. So everything matches and is new, and we're hoping to have a few extra maybe to put on some of the public buildings, so that they all match and look nice. So we'll have a few get-togethers where we're going to fluff them and construct them, and then get them ready for the city to put up. I think they put it up the Sunday after
Right around
Thanksgiving or something.
Thanksgiving,
Do you have a fluff date? Do you need help?
I don't have a fluff date yet, because I'll wait till after the cookie crumb.
Okay,
And
Which
then
is
I'll
November 9th.
yeah.
And then I'll have, we'll just do it at the shop, where we can kind of spread out, and as we do them, we can take them upstairs and just lay them on the floor, so they stay nice until the city can come pick them up.
Okay,
So-
well, let me know, and we'll spread the word and get some fluffers.
Okay, fluff party, okay.
Okay. And I think, last year it was suggested that the shop owners all put antique-looking decorations in there. Well, I think the shops always look really good.
Well, we actually are going to do a contest this
Yeah.
year. Downtown St. John, we're going to have a decorating contest, and I'll have the forms here in City Hall with Megan, and there'll be 3 different categories. There'll be residential, commercial, or historic. And so we'll have more information out on that. I should have brought the form with me, but I didn't. But anyway, that'll be coming up really soon too. Everything seems to be happening now all of a sudden.
But just in general, I think shop owners
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
they do decorate.
But this is to try to
Tastefully,
encourage
yeah.
even like some of the houses, so private residences in
Yeah.
town and that to,
Yeah, we just want the downtown to be
we want it
like-
to be so Christmassy.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, Candy, there was a meeting maybe that you weren't at.
Yeah.
And so that it's gone a step past that even.
Oh, good.
And because the Holiday Christmas Festival is under the umbrella of the St. Genevieve Chamber,
Mhm.
I know that the Christmas Festival chairperson, Annette, has spoken with Dina about also decorating the lamp posts below the level of the wreath. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, I don't really have many details other than I met with Annette today, and that's what she's going to do with beyond the wreaths. She's going to encourage businesses to select a lamppost like they do for the Halloween Scarecrow Spectacular, and then the businesses are going to do a window contest. So the chamber has agreed to sponsor both of those contests and provide the winning ribbons like we do for the scarecrows. But I don't know to what extent really her imagination for decoration was going to go. Because not all of those lampposts, actually the majority of those
Very few,
lampposts
yeah.
do not have external outlets
Right.
to
Right,
plug additional
right.
lights into.
Right.
There are a few that do have some, but there's not very many of them. So.
Yeah, she must have changed her mind, because when I had talked to her, she made it sound like just the shops themselves, you know, not like a particular lamp post, just the shop area. Or
Right.
So is that separate from the thing that I made the form for?
I believe it must be, yes.
Okay, all right.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, because I wasn't aware of anything with residential, commercial, or
Yeah, well, that was a downtown St.
the
Genevieve.
downtown St. John.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I think all of it's a great idea, so whatever we can do to
Yeah,
help
the
promote
most-
it,
the most more
absolutely.
Christmas-
It'll
see the
all
better.
contribute to the,
To the look.
yeah.
Mhm.
And we're trying to also decide the banners that were hung, you know, like every other, since we can't use the snowflakes and
Lampposts.
stuff. There was also banners hung by the
Citizens
poles.
Electric pole, yeah.
So we're trying to figure out if there's a building or buildings that we could drape them, you know, use the banners to hang from the buildings.
cool.
And Annette really wanted to get, you know, some of the public buildings, courthouse and all that lit up, you know, with lights, but
And that discussion has happened too.
I don't know that
She's-
the funding will be available for that. Unless we do like the doors maybe, or do it on a smaller scale until we can add to it.
Well, the discussion that I am aware of involved Gary Nelson with the county commission, and they're going to do it like literally on the square. So the courthouse, the chamber building, those buildings on the square this year, and then maybe next year expand it beyond that. The idea was to have it almost like the Kansas City Plaza, where you've got, you know, the outline of the
The
building.
tops of the, yeah.
Where are they getting the lights from? I mean, how's that?
She said that they were donated.
Yeah.
She had some.
She had some, but I don't know if she's got enough for everything.
Today she said she did. So
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if that's.
Good.
She's
But
pretty
who
good at
knows
making
where.
that kind of thing happen.
Yeah, I know.
You know, and the other thing I mentioned to her too is those snowflakes, because I know those are fairly recently new. I mean, they're only within 3 or 5 years old, possibly. I don't know why they couldn't be hung out on Progress Parkway, because the height of those poles are not an issue.
And you
For
talked with her
citizens.
about that?
I mentioned it to her, and
Okay.
she said she was gonna reach out to someone, but
That would be pretty cool.
Someone also suggested, and it might have been you too, that if we cannot use them, then maybe we could find a neighboring city who could, and then we could use
Sell
the
them.
money from that and
Yeah.
then put it into more Christmas decorations for
If we
downtown.
could sell them to somebody, to another city that maybe would want them for their town.
Mhm.
But if they're a Citizens Electric town, they're gonna have run into that with everywhere, you know?
well, and I just know that the lamp, or the post out on Progress Parkway already have like the military banners on them.
Oh.
So those are not a factor.
What about even out on Highway 61 and what's not the historic district, but going?
Like
as
the
you-
commercial area
Yeah.
along there, McDonald's and all that?
can't-
No,
You
because
can't.
those lamp, or
Those are
those.
regular utility poles.
Yes.
Be
Yeah.
pretty around Progress.
What I'm talking about on Progress is those are like actual
Mhm.
lamps.
Right,
So,
And
That
that's-
looked really cool going
It
down.
would
that's
be
going to the water
Yeah.
park and all that?
Mhm.
Okay.
But could they support that? I mean, because those snowflakes are probably bigger than we
Oh,
realized.
I think so.
They could support it.
I would think.
Because I don't know that they hang those banners out there anymore, because when they had them on there and then the first huge storm knocked the whole pole over with the banner on it, so.
That might be because they didn't have the spring-loaded ones.
Maybe.
Because when we had our banners, we never had that issue because
Okay.
ours were all spring-loaded, so they went with the wind. You know what I mean? They weren't just like.
Or the trucks. They
Or
were
the
rigid.
or the trucks. Mostly the trucks. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's just even too much
Yeah.
for the spring.
I'll never forget the one semi that like literally carried the banner with it like all through town. Like it just hit it and it stuck. Yeah, we had to flag them down. Can we have that banner back?
Right.
Yeah. So,
It would be
but
pretty
Progress
out there.
Parkway would be a really pretty area to put that out there, because I don't know how many of the snowflakes we had, but if you did every other pole, well, you could probably get all the way to the end. Or even the banners, too.
Or, yeah, maybe,
Yeah.
both. Like a banner, a snowflake, a banner, a snowflake.
Mhm.
All right. Good ideas all.
It'll be here next week. Christmas.
I know.
Okay, under new business, we have planning for fiscal year 20. That sounds just
I know.
way
it's
wrong,
dry.
way
It's-
wrong, but yeah.
So one of the important things I just wanted to point out is that this brochure, which we updated all the imagery and all the content on the inside last year in 2018, we still have plenty to get through this year and probably the beginning of 2020, but this will be a project that will need to be updated next year. And there, I mean, hopefully it can coincide with the actual establishment of the national park, because it would be a shame to print these and then not be able to say it, and then, then have to do it over again. So, and there is, there are little things that have changed even since this was printed. For instance, the Felix Valley's Réveillon French Christmas, it used to be the second Sunday in December. Well, starting this year, 2019, it's the first Saturday
It's
now,
gonna be
right?
Festival Day.
Yeah.
The reason is because we need numbers, and we'd like to see more people get to come in. And the dulcimer player we bring in is a renowned dulcimer player, and it just makes sense that fits with all the music, and Annette agreed that that would be good to have that. So we are changing the date. Change is difficult for some people,
Yeah.
but I think it'll be good for us and everybody.
Oh, good idea.
Yep.
So for this year, the ones that we're handing out now, Donna was good enough to ask her staff to update that. Since it still said the second Sunday, they updated a whole stack of them to say the first Saturday, so that we don't
And
have.
we're ready
some-
for another
Yeah.
stack. If we can just keep
Okay.
doing it, they'll all go out the right date.
We might move you up to a box.
That's fine. That's fine. They need things to do when, it gets
Yeah.
cold or it's raining,
Yeah.
so.
So that's a big project, and, typically we put a committee together for that, so if you're interested in serving on the print revision committee, please let us know. And I brought these along because these are the rack cards, and these were just updated this year. We had already updated the photography on it, but the Tourism Tax Commission asked us to lighten up this bar across the bottom, and it says, only 1 hour south of St. Louis along the Mississippi River. Visit our website for a list of lodging, that's what pays the tax, events and festivals. So we updated that, and we also updated now approved as a new National Historical Park. It did say now pending as a new National Historical Park when we printed these last year. So these are in distribution all up and down the Interstate 55 corridor, and also downtown St. Louis, Scott Air Force Base, all the Missouri Welcome Centers, and there's hopefully going to be another one of these next summer that will feature the water park, the museum, other kinds of things that are family-friendly, because we really haven't had much family-friendly in the past. I mean, obviously, the water park changes that in a huge way, and the opening of the Museum Learning Center will also be a real family-friendly attraction. So hopefully we can get another rack card out there so that you see St. Genevieve and St. Genevieve, you know, side by side. ASL Pewter is one of the local businesses that is also considering doing a rack card. Then we'd have 3 in a row. So pretty soon we'll take over the whole case. But.
Good.
So just to let you know, those things that'll be in the works for 2020.
Okay, I think you've already talked about Bike Across Missouri.
I did,
And I'm excited about that. That's a
Oh,
neat,
yeah.
that's kind of a,
I've got a neat little graphic that I'll scan and email to you that kind of shows the route, kind of how this one showed the route in the state of Missouri. It shows the route for the Big Band. And they have a music concert every night, which I think is cool.
oh, cool.
It's not a bike race, it's a bike ride. These people aren't, you know, like, they're not racing from point to point. They're stopping and having lunch. They might kick up at a winery for a while. As long as they get the place that they're going to camp that night in time for the food and music, they're happy. So it's a very laid back, slow travel group.
That'd be my kind of travel.
Yeah.
Except I don't want a motor on my bike. Okay.
So
the rest of the new business, I think, is yours too.
Yeah, so event confirmations, I just put that on there. This is the time of year when we send the emails out to all of these tourism-related events that are sponsored by all the different organizations across the community. We print this in January, and it has January through June on one side and July through December on the other. It's very important that we get the accurate dates confirmed, because the last thing we want to do is put a little line through every single card that says Civil War history, event date changed by a week, you know,
Yeah.
which happened this year. So anyway, so we've just completed that process. This information is out there now in the hands of each one of those event coordinators. So, you know, everyone from the Rotary Club to the Lions Club to Bolduc to, you know, sometimes it's the community center. So they're all in the process of confirming their description and their date and getting it back to us so that we can begin that process. Because we also, in addition to updating these cards and printing them, we also go out and enter that information for free. As Donna said, in the slow hours, you know, in the winter, in January and February, the staff at the Welcome Center are down there just entering information in. And really right now is the time when you have to enter the information for January so that it's in like the co-op magazine and things like that. So, so that's an important process. It's one of those behind the scene things that you don't necessarily think about, but I just wanted to bring it up because it really, you know, begins that process this time of the year.
And time gets away in a big hurry. Just, yeah. Right.
And then I put these events on there, and when I changed the date, I forgot to take off October 19th, but Robbie, how was the werewolf event?
Wonderful. We had over 130 people attend Saturday.
Great.
And how did that compare with previous years? I know it's up, but,
It's in the same ballpark as last year,
Oh, okay.
which was 140, and then the year before that was 60. The year before that was only 20, so it's growing and
Wow.
growing every year.
Nice.
and I know downtown St. John was pleased with theirs. Well, we've got merchants here who participated in that. How was it for you? A lot of little
They
kids
had
in
over
costume?
200
Yeah,
kids.
nonstop
Good.
trick-or-treaters all day.
Good. And so the next event, obviously, is this weekend. Three really big events. Fourth Friday Art Walk is Friday night. And then, obviously, Saturday is the Rural Heritage Day, which is one of our signature events in St. Genevieve, followed by that evening, the Spirit Reunion in Memorial Cemetery, which grows every year also.
Mm-hmm. I think there are something like 25 spirits this year, so visitors that come, they can hardly listen to every story. There are too many, they can't get to everybody in the hours that we're open.
My staff is, 4 more are gonna be there,
Yeah.
and one of the National Park Service managers is gonna be there, so.
We're gonna need more
He was
lanterns.
excited.
Very spooky. It's gonna be very spooky.
What's really not so spooky though, I mean, it's in the cemetery. but-
Lots of haunting.
But it's not Halloweenish. It's living history more of it, yeah. But it's cool that it's in the cemetery. But we are gonna need more lanterns, yeah. Good,
That's a good thing.
that is a very good thing, yes.
Then on November 9th, downtown St. Genevieve's Cookie Crumb Trail.
Yay!
November 30th is Shop Small, and that, of course, is sponsored nationwide by American Express, but downtown St. Gen, the St. Genevieve Chamber of Commerce, and the St. Genevieve Welcome Center always sign up to be a neighborhood champion, which means we all get a huge box of giveaways. And those are available for any merchant that is interested in having that. You know, there's canvas bags, there's balloons, there's pins, there's little
Formats.
table cards.
Floor mats,
Bags.
Although we don't usually get very many of those.
Saturday the 16th, we are having an event called St. Genevieve County Day, where anybody with a free, gets a free tour with a St. Gen County residence card of any kind whatsoever.
Nice.
Library, license.
Say again, when is that?
It's Saturday the 16th.
Saturday the
Free tours
16th.
at the Bull Duke House. They're shortened, so we can fit it in, but, yeah, they're gonna be free with proof of residency in the county.
That's a good idea.
We think so.
When is Shop Small?
November
30th. That's
It's
what,
always the Saturday after.
Thanksgiving.
All right. Well, we have not mentioned the mural, but I think we should. I think it is quite attractive. I like it. You know, I watched her work several days, and I was just amazed.
Yeah. It's neat. It's the first thing you see when you come
Right,
out of town.
yes, and I think it's quite attractive.
Yeah.
Who sponsored it, or how did that happen, or?
She volunteered.
Joy just wanted to do it. She
Yeah.
is an artist and just wanted to do it, and I don't know that she had a sponsor, or she just did it
I
all
think
on
the
her own.
union all just gave her
Wow.
The
permission.
union, yeah,
Oh, neat.
but I like it.
She was a
Yeah.
retired art teacher.
Right.
Which I didn't know until like a year ago.
Yeah.
And inasmuch as we are an advisory board, I would like to advise someone, you know what would be cool if we had a location app that people could download onto their phone, and as they toured around town, they could, okay, you're now standing in front of the Felix Valley, this is the house that, now, how do we make that happen? I don't know. I guess we could pass a resolution saying that we would like for someone to develop an app and make it free and available. I don't know how that happens.
There are some apps already, like Around Me is, I mean, they already exist. You just have to kind of like plug your stuff in,
Yeah.
your information in. Because anytime I go to a different location, I just click on my Around Me app, and it pulls up like all of the restaurants and all of the shopping, and I mean, just depends on what category you're clicking on.
Okay, well, would they do like historical houses also?
Well, St. John's already on, I mean, we're already on there.
Oh, yeah?
Well, like if I don't even know if I can pull it up.
So
now, but-
should the individual shop owner enter information? Is that how
Yes,
that
so there
works?
is a way for them to go, if you go to the Around Me app, you can go in and say that you're a business owner and type in your information. So when people click on shopping, then your information would of shopping would come up. Or if you were a winery, that would come up, and if you clicked on wineries or accommodations or whatever.
Okay.
And there's so many lists. They break it down to banks and schools and all kinds of
Well,
things.
you know, I've always been singing this song for the last 3 meetings. I mean, I just really think we need a St. Genevieve app, period. I'm all for it. I mean, even Mount Vernon has an app, George Washington's home. It's one home, but he has an app. That way, like you said, people could stand in front of one of the historic houses, and if it's after hours, because a lot of people stroll in the evening that are staying here. And we don't have those little podiums out in front of each house that explains what it is, so I think it would be, and then that might tempt them to want to go back and see the inside the next day.
Right, but Around Me might be a place to start.
It could be a place to, yeah, I guess, I mean, if you can
It's
put in
free.
is it?
Well,
Cool.
and so I was just looking on Google Maps, and you can put in shopping, restaurants, all those things, as long as you've claimed, your space, which we sent that information out in the spring tips for tourism. So there's so many free ones out there already. I don't use Around Me, but I use 2 other ones that we do show up on. And like when I went to my MAPS program, the shopping was pretty limited. I mean, Belle Ever After was on there, but for instance, Simple to Sassy was still on it, so that hasn't been up.
Okay, so I want to ask a silly question, because I'm not a techie. How do you know where to go? If you're, if you're looking,
On your app,
what app do you even use?
your Maps app has categories: food, drink, shopping, travel,
You mean
services.
Google Maps?
Sarah, you come
Yeah.
up under restaurant. Sarah's
So it's
actually-
already, it should be on your phone already, you probably have a, don't you use a Maps app, like when you're doing GPS?
Mm-hmm.
So just just tap for search. And you'll get
Okay,
like
search
little-
here, so then what do I just put in?
It should come up with like categories like food, drink, social, or shopping.
Okay.
So under fun, for instance, there's nightlife, parks and rec, sports. And under shopping, on mine, I've got Belle Ever After, Simple to Sassy.
Mine's broken down into categories like groceries, beauty supplies, car
Yeah.
dealers.
Yeah. So to your point, if under the fun things to do, if we could have each one of the historic sites have a description there, you could, they could claim their space, which we have the instructions step by step for how to do that, and just put a description in there.
And actually, on the Google, if you do the free Google listing for your business, it automatically puts you on the Google Maps anyway. So you just have to go in and just register your business listing with Google, and then, which is free, you can do that too, and then it automatically puts you in their app.
All the historic houses.
So to your point, Sarah, we can share that information again
Right.
for listing your business on Google Maps. We also did it on Yelp, like we did the step-by-step instructions for Yelp. Because if you are a restaurant, or a winery or anything like that, they're finding you. I put in Felix and it came up with Felix's Pizza Pub,
Well, let's see.
which is on Clayton Avenue in St. Louis. So,
If I already have a Google website listing, I should be on this, like a Google site?
Well, you have to, it's actually called Google My Business.
Yeah,
It's,
I've done that, but I'm not finding me on here.
Well, you have to go in and you actually have to register it, and you go through a process.
I did.
You did?
Mhm.
Look, you and I had trouble over an hour.
No, I know it, but I had someone do it for me. I had somebody set up my whole Google mess, whatever it is.
Yeah, I will confess that I am really
You
lax
just
about
log into your Google and just look at
ever
your listing and
posting
see how
anything anywhere.
it's
But
listed.
I recognize there is great value in it. But all of these are places to start. So if we can just encourage businesses like myself to register when necessary or when available, yeah.
well, and the historic
Right.
sites too.
And the historic sites, yeah.
Like, Donna, you are on Google Maps under parks. Felix Valley State Historic Site is right on there, and it has a description and a photo and everything.
hit historic on around me, and it took me to our
house
main
wasn't on there
office
yet.
up at Festus.
Well, if you click on museums, under, all of the historic houses pop up.
Oh, I know. I have one of those lists.
All of them do,
Yeah,
in
well, good.
town,
Oh, yeah.
except maybe Keyboard Valley,
we
that
just-
one ain't on here.
We just figure that tourists are way more tech savvy than I am, yeah. Yeah, and the other thing that I am just, is that we are told repeatedly, oh, you can't mess with the railroad, and railroad land is sacred, and I don't know if you've been to Little Rock Landing lately, except that tourists.
Starting route to Sonic Driving.
Or anybody
Are you
coming.
craving a Sonic?
Anybody coming, thank you for that. Anybody coming off the ferry, the first view they have of St. Genevieve is really pretty ugly, because, first of all, your car will fall in a hole coming across those tracks.
That's
And then coming down Main Street, it just is not attractive at all. And it's not the city property that's not attractive. The park looks nice, the houses along there look nice. And it is the railroad property that is embarrassingly ugly. And I'm going to make it my mission to start writing letters to every railroad official I can find on Google. Just going to Google those guys. Google. And, and I think as an advisory council, we can advise the railroad that we wish that they would clean up their mess.
I do have another question. This just reminded me, speaking of the ferry. I had two couples come in, both of them were staying at Audubon's, and I don't know if there's anything that you can do about this or how you can look into it, but they put St. Genevieve in their GPSs. Both couples already had reservations at Audubon's, or they said they would have turned around and just given up. It sent both of them to the ferry. They said we went down all these back roads and gravel roads and everything, and they wound up at Modoc at the ferry. And of course, the ferry wasn't even running because the river's at flood stage. And they had to call Jim Ferguson and say, how are we going to get to St. Genevieve? Because we've been taken to the ferry and we're lost. So I don't know, is there someone we...
They were on the Illinois side?
Mm-hmm. And they both were staying at Audubon's, and the couple was talking to Jim about it, and another couple walked up and said that it happened to us too. So in the same night, I don't know what kind of GPSs, I don't even know if that's anything, if you can even do anything or who you can call, but that might...
MoDOT, M-O-D-O-T.
Yeah.
As opposed to MoDOT.
Right.
MoDOT, when the ferry is down, they put that on the MoDOT website, and that's supposed to be what populates those GPS systems, but.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's a way we can, if there's two people that that happened to, how many it happened to that we don't know about? And they said if they hadn't had reservations already, they would have just given up and not tried to
Right.
come.
Right.
They were coming from Illinois,
Yes.
the ferry was closed.
And their GPSs took them all the way to the ferry instead of down to Chester.
They had to figure out how to get here.
Yeah, and they couldn't figure out how to get here, and so they called Jim, and he had to get them down to Chester and tell them how to come
Right.
back up. Or he told them to put Chester in their GPS, and then it would get them here. But their original GPSs sent them to MoDOC.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if you're in Illinois, I can see why the GPS would do that.
I think it happens pretty frequently, people I've talked to,
Really?
but they don't go and look at the steps. If you look at the steps, it tells you you've got to take a ferry.
But if they just put it in their GPS and they're just
They're just
following
following it
as they
Right,
go.
nobody actually looks at a
Nobody
map
looks
anymore.
ahead,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
And I think that's a hard nut to crack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Well,
said,
I
I don't know
know
if there's
that-
anyone we can contact or,
No, I know a lot of truckers they get up by Kimlime or Holson and GPS sends them in some bizarre places, and that's
and then they
when,
can't get out.
like Sugar Bottom and all those roads had the same name.
White Sands.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, White Sands. And, I'd see those truckers, hot-footed up Main Street, and I'm thinking, oh, you're
Yeah.
lost.
Yeah. Oops.
Is there something we can put on the Visit St. Gen website that says, don't put, check to make sure you're not coming across the
I
ferry?
mean,
Yeah.
we could possibly put our longitude and latitude at the top of our sites, and then that way people can just take their phone and scan it, and then it automatically plugs it in.
But isn't it still gonna take them the fastest route?
It shouldn't. Like, if you did it for the Welcome Center, it should bring them right to you. Like, it should not, it shouldn't take them,
I'm sitting
like a
in
regular
Red Bud, it'll-
GPS.
Well, it'll take me away from my destination. Get me.
If you're sitting in Red Bud wanting to come to St. John,
Wouldn't it take you across a ferry?
I don't know. I mean, I don't,
We need somebody to volunteer to go to Red Bud.
Vis-a-vis Chester.
There you go.
I mean, I guess when you type in your stuff, can't
Oh,
you?
you're so smart, Megan. She's gonna put in Red Bud.
I never just do
See which
fastest
way it
route,
brings
though.
you?
It takes you from here to there on the ferry.
I've put in several places in
I put
Illinois,
driving.
and
I
I
don't
know
put-
that I know there's a ferry there, so I avoid that route and pick the other route.
Right.
But unless you actually look through the steps, that's the way you're gonna go.
And they're only as good, I only know this because I helped do this, as what points have been sent up there in the first place.
It takes you.
It doesn't get updated every year.
Takes you on the ferry to Red
You
Bud.
can end up at a.
But you can
Does
alter
it?
that, right?
Oh, yeah, you can alter it, but I just put fastest route, and it takes you over the ferry.
Oh, boy.
See, I never put in fastest route, so I let them all come up, and then I just look at them.
Did it ask you if there was any kind of a toll or a fee? Because it costs to come on the ferry, and usually if you have to go on a toll road, it will tell you, do you want to go on toll roads? And you say no. I'm just wondering if because it's
But this is just the map on Apple. I mean, I didn't put it into Google Map or anything like that.
I did it on my map app on my phone, and it took me across the ferry to get to Red Bud too. I mean, it does give me the
It's only how
choice,
they
and I,
get there.
knowing that there's a
So
ferry, I would not
satellites
choose
are
that,
lower.
but.
That's what it
Some
tells
people
you.
probably don't, like you said, they don't
Yeah.
look at the.
So did I open a can of
alternative
worms?
route.
That's
Well,
the one.
no, I think you
It's a
make a
Google
very good
problem.
point. I think
Yeah.
it's just
There are many.
sort of out of our control to alter it, really. I don't,
So I wonder if
We
there's
could put
something we
something
could
on the
put on a website or the Facebook page that if you're coming from the east,
yeah,
make sure you
yeah.
check the route and don't come
Yeah,
the
always
ferry.
check the route, or always check to make sure the ferry is running, because if there's high water
Or come down
low
to
water-
Chester.
Yeah, we could put that disclaimer on a website.
So it goes back to my theory, if a couple of people have told you about it, how many have that happened? And
Oh, I
we-
would think it happens often.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you hear it all the time about people that follow their GPS and end up in a cornfield.
Exactly.
No doubt. Yeah. And the last thing I have is that, so that everybody knows what we're doing, our next meeting, quarterly meeting should be in January, correct? And that would be the 15th.
Yes, let's see.
So if you want to put that on your calendars now, since we're all into this pre-planning.
So we don't get the,
Yes.
After the holidays and we're,
Yeah.
I'll be
that's
at
a Wednesday.
I'll be at market, so I
It
won't
should be
be
the
here.
14th.
It's the
Oh,
14th.
that's not- Is it? Maybe I
No,
looked
the-
at last.
Oh, you might have been looking at last year's
Oh.
calendar, maybe.
Are you doing the third Tuesday like normal, or?
Yeah, I was looking at last year.
So it'll be the 21st.
Good thing you know.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I didn't, if you're sticking with the third Tuesday, is what
No,
you
it would be
typically
the
do.
21st.
21st.
Yeah.
21st? Okay.
It needs to be the 21st.
The only reason I know that it's the same day as my board meetings, so it's like a day of meetings for me, so
Yeah,
typically.
Okay, so January.
January 21st. Yeah,
The next quarterly.
yes.
Yeah, quarterly.
Does anybody have anything else to bring to the group? If not, the meeting stands adjourned. Thank you very much for your attendance and your input.